This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi everyone, I'm Jace Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today we're talking with Dave McCleave, Director of Aftermarket at Hendrickson. Dave, thanks so much for taking the time. Great to see you.
Hey Jason, thank you for having me.
All right, so I want to jump right into it. Aftermarket, always a moving topic here in the industry, a lot going on. What are the biggest trends right now from your seat in the heavy-duty aftermarket?
Well, Jason, I think there's a few of them out there, and I think one of them's been kind of been going on for quite some time. E-commerce, right? We always want to talk about e-commerce. E-commerce is not a trend in our daily lives, okay? But I still believe it's a trending movement in the heavy duty industry for sure. And the reason I say that is it's not fully entrenched and implemented throughout the industry. And I think one of the big reasons is the thirst for rich data content, and to get that really developed by the suppliers to really make it happen seamlessly, along with some other challenges. I think the other challenges are there are individuals out there that are doing it very well, in their local economy, their local market. But I think when it comes to like an OEM, for instance, with a large dealer network, figuring out how to conduct e-commerce using 1,100 sites, to look like one large entity is still a challenge. And there's inherent issues there. I should say inherent challenges there because of individual business owners. The same holds true in the independent, distribution side of the channel, where if you're an independent distributor, you belong to a marketing group, the same challenge there is how do I make my entire group look like one large entity in the e-commerce space? They're working on it. They're all working on it. But I think that is definitely one of them. I think the rich data is, you can say it's a trend as well, but it's really used to facilitate the e-commerce, and it facilitates other tools as well. If I could just kind of elaborate a little bit more too,
Yeah, please.
We got a bunch of new generation buyers and sellers, and these folks, let's just call it what it is. They grew up with game controllers in their hands. I always joke with my son and said, hey, if they were to build a car for your generation, it wouldn't have a steering wheel, it'd have a game controller.
That's right.
But I think, that rich data is really what drives that e-commerce. And I think the trend that kind of parlays right into that is inventory is king. That's what everybody likes to say, right? And that's true, but inventory is an ante to the game anymore. And if you don't have it, you're just not going to exist. Okay, so everybody has inventory. What's next? What's next is this rich data in this e-commerce, platform, if you will, that says I can ID the part the fastest. I can ID the right part the fastest, and I have it in inventory. Then that's who wins. Who wins now is who can ID that right part the fastest.
Right. Well, and I want to dig into this a little bit because I think what you highlighted here too is there's a value chain there, right? From the manufacturer and supplier down to the distributors, dealers, the fleet that's going to use the part and throw the box away then. And to your point, from the e-commerce side, it looks like one entity, right? It looks like one person, but there's a whole value there, and there are relationships there in our industry, right? People like working with people in our industry. The technology's promise is to help kind of streamline and make that quicker. To your part, being able to identify the parts, get them there quicker, but you still want to maintain that value. From an end user point of view on the fleet side, right, the person that's buying the part, what are you hearing from your customers, and how is this impacting how they're working with suppliers with parts data and online catalogs and ordering? How is this working for the end user, and what are they really asking for?
It's a transition, and they still like to pick up the phone. They still like to talk to people, and in some cases you have to because here's the symptom that I'm seeing, okay, and someone can then understand that here and provide a root cause solution to that. That can't always be done over e-commerce for sure, right? You get your little chat box going, but typically the little chat box isn't the person that's technically inclined to answer some of those questions. So the phone still is necessary. Hey, but for your everyday stuff that I know is going to work, like a filter, like a brake light, things like that are pretty easy to identify. That stuff's easy to go over e-commerce for sure.
Right.
And I kind of look at it as a toolbox. The rich data content helps facilitate digital cataloging, obviously. Okay, but at the same time, I still need to use papers for some legacy, product that's still in the lineup.
Right.
So it's just like a toolbox. You're gonna have an open end wrench. You're gonna have an adjustable wrench. You have a
Right.
box wrench.
Right.
And it just depends on what the job is, which resource I'm going to use, and what tool I'm going to use.
Right, for sure. You mentioned the chat box. Just an aside, I always wonder if I'm talking to an actual person when I'm using those things. You know what I mean? You try to throw a question in there, see if they respond like a human, and see if you're really talking. And in that vein too, I mean, talking about the digital world, I know when during the pandemic and lockdown, the aftermarket and service support world really went in the high gear on the virtual conversations. Right, it was the only way we could see people and talk to people and do this kind of thing. What other ways is digital impacting the aftermarket? Is that kind of consulting still happening? Are there more visits? Is there anything you learned from the pandemic in the digital world and continue to use today?
Everybody's happy to see people right now. There's no doubt about it. It is a people industry. There's no doubt about it. But we're human beings, and we're social by nature.
Right.
So Teams is great, but you can't. It's a one-way dialogue. You got to listen to me. I stop. I listen to you. You stop. It's a different communication style. It's still being used. It's not being used as prevalent, during the pandemic. But hey, listen, there's going to be some customers that are in some situations, or that are in far regions of the corners and of states in the country and so forth, that this is the only way to keep, to kind of communicate and do things digitally. But for sure, everybody likes to see people and be hands-on.
Yeah, another tool in that toolbox, right? I mean, it depends on the application too. It's kind of a nice new layer, maybe even for customer interaction as well.
Correct.
The phone, seeing the face, just utilizing all communication aspects. Very cool.
You do, Jason. You're right. And the phone and FaceTiming on the phone, it's actually really good when you're trying to figure out, what. Hey, you get a phone call from somebody in the field, and it's like, hey, what are you looking at? I can't see it, right? Well, guess what? I can just turn my phone, FaceTime it, turn around, show it to you, and talk to you at the same time. Those types of things have really helped out as well, no doubt.
Right. Well, it's definitely helped me out because I got to connect with you, and it's wonderful to talk with you. Wonderful to see you. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure I will talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.